Hello and welcome to the channel. Today what we're going to talk about is an integration environment update. This was something that we did announce at Integrate a couple weeks ago, and the focus here is on end-to-end monitoring. So let's go. All right, so why is this important? So at Integrate 2024 we introduced an update to integration environment. This update brings together some key reports for Logic Apps, in this case standard, API management, and service bus entities. Now, these reports are surfaced in the context of an application. So you've got an integration environment. Within that environment, you have multiple applications. These reports focus or are targeted at a specific application. Now, the backend telemetry that drives these reports is coming from application insights. And this is one of those things when you go ahead and you view the workflow runs report, you should be using Application Insights V2 for Logic App Standard. So that's something to consider. And what is also interesting, that the underlying technologies for these reports is Azure Monitor Workbooks. I've talked about this before on the channel. We've actually published some samples on how you can build customized workbooks. But that's actually a pretty cool technology, and I think it's one of those things where, we're putting these out here to inspire you, but, certainly if you have additional extensibility needs, you can go ahead and enhance these. So let's go ahead, let's flip over to a demo, and I'll give you a tour of these new capabilities. All right, here I am in the Azure portal. I've got an integration environment that has been created. I've been able to go ahead and define a series of different applications, and these applications would represent some logical unit of processing that takes place, right? So we've got automated metering or customer service, employee onboarding, finance, bank reconciliations, and operations. So I'm going to go ahead and click into the customer service application, and when I do so, you can go ahead and see that I've got an API management instance registered, and there's a series of APIs that are part of this instance. I also have a few different Logic Apps here. So I've got this work order Gen AI, CPL marketing, and then work management. I've got a service bus namespace, and there's a series of queues and topics that I'm interested in. And then lastly, I've got a business process. So I've talked about this in a previous video where I can now go ahead and add business processes as a resource and see them inside of an application. Now, what's new here is we've got this application monitoring tab, and we've got insights. So go ahead and click on insights. And naturally, there's going to be some filters here that you want to be aware of. So the first off is the application insights that is going to be used for your various services here. So what I've done is I've standardized on this App Insights Integrate 2023, and I'm using this when I go ahead and configure these other services as well. So the more consistent you are in terms of using a common App Insights instance, the better these reports will go ahead and work. Now, for demo purposes, I'm going to focus in on this work order management. This is kind of the most interesting Logic app that is being used here. So what I've got here is an overview. We can see the workflow run success rate, the action success rate, and the trigger success rate. Naturally, I can go ahead and expand this if I want, and I can go ahead and see some different data, right? So here, I've seen some failures. I've gone ahead and fixed those failures. And now if I filter down to, something that's smaller, we can go ahead and see that, things have improved. So I think that's pretty important when you think about trending. Hey, when did I start seeing an issue? And then, when has this been fixed? I think that's always quite valuable. The next area, let's go ahead and take a look at workflows. And here what we can see is for specific workflows in that particular Logic app, here's some of the trending. And so naturally these numbers can be quite big, but I've just filtered this down to a smaller surface area. But if we go ahead and expand this, we'll once again see more data, more telemetry from that perspective. So let's now flip over to runs. I think this one is pretty interesting. This is kind of that guidance that I had said before about using App Insights V2. So this is something that you need to enable in your Logic apps. There is a host.json file, and you need to opt in to App Insights v2. We have GA'd App Insights v2, so no concerns from that perspective, but we're going to be using that schema when we go ahead and represent this data. So now what I do need to do here is I do need to go ahead and set my specific workflow. In this case, what I'm going to go ahead and do is select this work order created, and you'll see why in a little bit. But this is going to look a lot like your run history. And so for a particular run, I can go ahead and view that run. So this will take me right into the run history. So I can go ahead and follow the breadcrumbs and see exactly the data that I'd be looking for. So that's kind of interesting. The other thing, if I wanted to resubmit, I could go ahead and resubmit. Now this will resubmit from the trigger, not from a specific action, but if you wanted to resubmit from a specific action, you can go ahead and do that when you're in the run history view itself. Now, what's also interesting here is this represents the run, but what about the underlying actions? And so I can go ahead and click into one of these results, and we're going to then go ahead and display all of the different actions. I can go then subsequently look at specific details, and that will sort of give me additional information. Now, another interesting thing, we're not done here yet, is we've got this dependencies for a selected action. So I do know within this action, we're going to call an API management instance. So let's go ahead and select that. And then what we'll do is we'll surface up a row from the dependencies table in that application insights instance, right? So once again, we can start to now do some additional chaining. Now, if we did have exceptions, we naturally would show those here. In this case, there was no exceptions, so I don't have any to show, but you would see exceptions that did emerge if they actually were there. So I think that's a pretty useful view. And I think what's kind of nice about this is that I don't have to do a whole lot of back and forth, right? I can go ahead and select a specific workflow and triage it that way without having to sort of keep going back to the overview and then finding the workflows list and then selecting into one. We also have some compute, so this is just going to be the metrics that are calculated as part of that workflow just executing, or that logic app executing, and this is something that we can go ahead and see some trends, which I think are naturally quite interesting as well. So that's the logic app side. Let's just click into Service Bus. So these are going to be the same metrics that show up inside of Service Bus. I think the real benefit here, similar to what I just talked about with workflows, is that if I'm trying to trace a particular problem, I don't have to have several different tabs open, right? I'm still in the same context. I haven't left anywhere. I have some ability to sort of slice and dice here. So once again, similar to workflows, I can go ahead and look at a specific queue or topic, and then look at the data that's specific for that queue or topic. We also have some different dimensions here. We've got requests and we've got messages. So more opportunities to go ahead and drill down into the areas that we're interested in. And once again, this is all surfaced. This is all data that you would find if you went to the Service Bus namespace resource inside of the Azure portal. But once again, we're just bringing that context to you so you don't have to go chase it. And then similarly, if we go ahead and take a look at API management, we've got a specific timeline. Now this would be at the instance level, but we do have the ability to drill down into some more API specific information. And this is the one that I've been using a lot, this mean time to restore. And then certainly if I want to then further go into operations, I can go ahead and take a look at some operations as well and get some additional information from that perspective. So yeah, that is the update. We're definitely looking for feedback. We know that we can do more, but we want to hear from you all. And if you've got some areas that, hey, you'd love to see some enhancements or improvements, do let us know. We'd be happy to go ahead and chat with you further. So thanks again for checking out this video, and we'll see you again soon.